Okay. Well, what do you think? These aliens, Terry Lovelace, you need to get him on your show and interview him. I tell you, after you get some of these people on, I feel that these people who claim that these aliens are here to protect mankind, I don't know what they're smoking, but I don't think that's what's going on. I really am concerned something is going down the road, and I think it's being covered up.
Oh, yeah, big time. Because if they were here to protect us, why don't they do that?
Well,
it's really... Actually, I said that wrong. There have been something that has been protected, and that is they don't want a nuclear war. Because there have been rockets that has been disarmed. There have been flying discs over some Air Force bases in North Dakota that when the disc was sitting right over the silo, it neutralized all radioactive material in the tip of that rocket. So, yeah, they have been showing us that don't mess with it because we can control.
Well, maybe they're doing it for themselves. A lot of people don't realize that. Maybe they don't want to see our world contaminated with radiation because maybe then our beautiful planet would not be right for them.
Yeah, and I can see why they're doing it in a way, too, because in this solar system, Earth is very special. And in many others, Earth is also very special. So I think they want to protect it. Now, they don't care about us so much. If we go and destroy ourselves, that's fine with them, I personally think, for many of them anyway, because Earth must be protected, not necessarily the savage humans on it.
Well, maybe they have protected the Earth in the past, and maybe that's what happened. Well, I feel like we have been rebooted a couple of times on this planet.
Yeah.
And maybe they're the ones that rebooted the planet.
Oh, yeah. I think we've had some help, and there is stories of people that have seen things. In 1580 or so, over a small Swiss town in the Alps, there were writings that was written up in local bulletins that people had handwritten bulletins where they found that there were a war in the sky. There were ships, long triangular arrow type of ship that was in the sky, and there was many small ships flying around it that was firing or shooting with light at each other. And then again, there was in South America, right up north of Sao Paulo, there were two small bright white lights that flew after another big one, and they were firing at the big one. And the big one fired back, and that was the end of the two small ones. They fired light beams at each other. And the two smaller ones, they crashed in the jungle somewhere, and from there we don't know anything about it.
Interesting. Really interesting. I wonder, why are they... Here's the thing. You hear about crop circles all the time. You hear about cattle mutilation. I guess there's another one that happened here recently again. And these people being abducted. Why would they still need to keep abducting people and taking their DNA as sperm, eggs, and other stuff? Wouldn't just a little bit of skin tissue or be just enough for DNA? Why do they need to do all this stuff? And it seems like it's repeatedly over and over again. That's the part it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and then it is usually on the same part of the cow. It's like the jaw. The meat on the jaw is taken.
Well, yeah.
And also, it's same places usually, and it's a little puzzling. But if it's an ongoing big project going, I can see how they need more and more and more and more.
Well, it tells me it's telling me they're not coming here to get just stuff for testing. They're coming here the same way we take porpoise or we take a bull, a penis, for example, and it sells for a lot of money in China and Japan. I mean, it's a commodity. Maybe that's what it is, because, you know, with the cows, it's just not around their face, it's their udder. There's other items they take. The thing is, there was a pathologist here a couple months ago in this case in Oregon, and he's investigated several other ones. When the eyes are removed, if the cow or bull was already dead, the brain has liquid. It would drain out when you remove the eyes. He said it would run off the side of the face. But in all these cases, the ones he investigated, the liquid ran off the nostrils, which he said at this point, when the eyes were removed, that cow or bull was standing up, and it was alive.
Huh. Yeah, we can only wonder. But we know they're here. In fact, there are also pictures, I don't know if it's real or not, but there are pictures floating around on the internet with a human body that was cut up the same way with the jaw and all that from what cattle mutilations had done.
There's a bunch of them. In fact, I knew a guy, and I still know him. He worked for the government. He's retired. But it's a 3-letter agency, and it ends with an A. And at one point, he sent me some pictures of human mutilations. And I had them on my computer for a while. And then I actually went so far as taking them off the computer because I felt uncomfortable having them on. And then I went so far as I took the computer and scrapped the computer and replaced the computer because I didn't even want any records on that hard drive of what he sent me.
Yeah, I understand. Because, and then again, there is FBI documents, and I have them on my computer, that says that most or many of the extraterrestrial, or what we call UFOs, are interdimensional aliens coming from a higher vibratory rate or another parallel world to ours, coming into ours on exploratory missions, and then they go back home out of our vibration. If you go to blackvault.com, you know about that one.
Oh,
and
yes.
You can read all those things, and government documents where they admit, yeah, they're here, and this is what it is.
But I wonder what their purpose is. Do you have any idea or gut feelings?
Well, I think they're mostly coming here for that type of purpose. I think they're coming here for their purpose, not for ours. But on the other hand, chances are, there's a theory that I've had for a while. I haven't talked much about it, but the Roswell incident, I think, could very well have been a planted incident, because we are somewhat intelligent, in 1947. So they knew that if they crashed a ship, we were going to try to back engineer it and find out how it worked and get some technology out of it that would accelerate us a little bit to the point possibly where we could make contacts and we can start associating with them again. So if they left something in there that we could back engineer, then it would be a step forward for us. And they left the very beginning of a computer chip that they found in there. Some of the other technologies, they had a hard time figuring out what it was.
Well, that is so true. My father is long gone, but he was an electronic engineer. He worked for Boeing's. He helped develop some of the electronics when they were working on the SST, which never was built. But, I talked to him about this, and I've actually talked to a couple scientists. I also talked to Dr. Maccabee about this, Bruce Maccabee. If I went back to 1950 with a cell phone or a transistor radio and handed it to a scientist and said, hey, back engineer this, what do you think the odds are it would happen?
Well, they probably could be able to do it. They had, get a big microscope on it and start blowing it up and blowing it up and blowing it up until they can see what the structure of whatever is in the material is, I think they could probably do it.
I would think if they could do it, it would take massive years to do it. That's one thing, like Bruce Maccabee said, and my father even said, that back during that time frame, they didn't have the technology to do that. They didn't, and that's what some of the stuff when you hear about some of the people who claim that they back engineered propulsion systems on UFOs. I'm not going to mention his name, but I just don't know if it would be possible. That's the only thing.
Well, it's a little bit ahead of us, but then again, we can think of it this way. In 1942, there is papers showing that the Nazi German Luftwaffe sent off a rocket to the moon. Actually, it was not a rocket, it was a circular flying disc that they sent to the moon, and they got there, flew around it, and they came back. See, the moon is an enigma that nobody really understands unless you have studied it. And for a little bit of history on that one is, I remembered what that document that you can write to NASA, and you can get a lot of the information on the activities that has been observed on the moon, and the ships that has been crashed and taken pictures of up there and stuff like that is called Chronological Catalog of Lunar Events. Write to NASA and ask for it, and I tell you, it is interesting. I have it on my computer.
It makes you kind of like everything you learned through all your life when it comes to the moon. If alien life could be possible, it really makes you now scratch your head and realize that, hey, we're not alone.
Oh, yeah, and you see, NASA is telling us that the moon is a dead rock in the sky. Well, there's a problem. About 20 years ago, actually 20 to 25 years ago, when I was doing a lot of research into NASA on the moon, I found a lot of pictures from the moon that was marked top secret. Why in the world would they classify top secret on a dead rock in the sky? And the more we learn about the moon, the more questions we get, because there is more evidence to the fact that it is not even there than there is evidence to the fact that it is there. Nothing makes sense. In fact, there are old written documents coming out of India that say at one point there were 2 moons, and then they write about the time before the moon. So the moon has not always been there. And since I have pictures on one of my websites that show buildings up there, there's 2 crashed long cigar-shaped ships that is clear, very clear pictures. And in fact, I'm going to give you the website for that. It's www.Aage-Nost.com. You go into the picture gallery, there's 5,600 pictures by now of unbelievable things that should not exist, but it does.
That's what I'm saying. That makes you realize there's something going on. My feeling is at one time, I don't believe that the moon just was just floating out there in the galaxy in our solar system and decided to park itself, to Earth. I think it was brought here. Yeah,
there's evidence to that because, in fact, the moon is about 400 million years older than Earth is. And what it tells us, according to scientists, saying that show that the moon was not even formed in the same cloud of dust as Earth was, because they have moon rocks, and there's a totally different composition of it than rocks from Earth is, and the age of it is that much of a difference. In fact, the moon should not even